Hello friends, welcome to Kizuna India Japan Study Forum. Some of you may be knowing that the Kizuna India Japan Study Forum was launched last year in September by the MOSAI. The main objective of this forum is to unravel and document the lesser known or under-researched aspects of India-Japan historical and cultural interactions through lectures, seminars, and conferences. The forum also brings out publications and holds cultural programs in collaboration with the Japan Foundation, India International Center, Indian Council for Cultural Relations, Embassy of Japan, and other interested organizations. The forum is planning to hold a musical concert on 22nd November in collaboration with Mitsui. The forum, since its inception, has held one international conference on discovering India-Japan civilizational ties and Southeast Asia connectivities in February 2023 and 7 monthly lectures. Today's talk by Dr. Sampa Biswas, an art historian, is the 8th lecture under Kizuna monthly lecture series. The topic is Toji and India-Japan Spiritual Connect. Dr. Biswas is associated with teaching at National Museum Institute of History of Art, New Delhi, Museology and Conservation and Restoration of Art, New Delhi, and Indira Gandhi National Center of Arts, New Delhi. Now, let me introduce our distinguished chair and discussant. We are indeed very fortunate to have such a renowned Indologist, Professor Shashibala, as the chair. She is Dean of Bhavan's K.M. Munshi Center of Indology and on-chair Acharya Raghuvira, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, New Delhi. And we have Suhmit Sharma as the discussant. He is the Deputy Curator in the National Gallery of Modern Art, New Delhi. He is also a fashion designer and has co-authored the catalog Divyambara Masterpieces of Costumes from the National Museum Collection, along with late Dr. Lotika Vardarajan. Now I request Professor Shashibala to chair the session and conduct the proceedings. Namaskar. Thank you very much. Professor Shashibala, आप म्यूट कर लीजिए, म्यूटेड है.
So shall we start?
Yes, Dr. Shashibala, please.
Yeah. Namaskar to all of you. I'm happy to know about the activities of Kizuna. It's a great pleasure for me to join you all. Professor Sushmita Narsinghamji, Dr. Ashok Jain, Dr. Sampa Biswas, and all others who have joined us for this wonderful talk, because she's going to talk about Toji and how India and Japan are culturally linked. So it's a history of more than 1400 years. So these countries, although you all know that geographically we are far away from each other, but it's amazing the way we are connected. So this connection is from heart to heart, from soul to soul. Number one, artistically, aesthetically, and then spiritually, and even politically. There is a lot that we are studying, and still more has to be studied and researched also. There are many avenues that I see that they are under researched, talking about India's cultural linkages with Japan. So especially with the south, with the eastern coast, how people traveled, how arts traveled, how thought traveled, how religion traveled, so how philosophy traveled. So all this with just a very brief introduction. I'm happy because Sampa was my student in National Museum Institute, and it makes me delightful that at least somebody, not many, but somebody has taken up these things as their field of research, further research, and they are continuing. It's a great joy for me, because for me it was not just a job, but I started teaching at the National Museum Institute just to inspire the next generation. So with delightful heart, I invite Dr. Sampa Biswas to give a presentation on Toji. It's an amazing temple. People in India do not know much about it, neither about history, neither about the culture, neither about the heritage that it preserves. They don't know about how India and Japan are linked through this kind of temples and monasteries. So it's a great pleasure to have this kind of people. And I thank Kizuna also for inviting her. And in future also, as you told, that you will be organizing this kind of talks. So I thank you once again and invite some participants.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashibala. Thank you so much, Dr. Narasimhan. I'm very happy to be here at this time, and I want to start my lecture. And this, as you all know, the topic is Toji and India, Japan, Spiritual Connect. Of course, it will be Toji, and the pictures I will be showing is from the temple, but I have also got a collection of other temples and all, because not easy to get pictures from just one temple and all, because what I want to show. Okay, so now let me begin. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Toji and India, Japan. Permission. Yeah, I need the permission. Permission.
Yeah, already give, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Start. The beginning of cultural affinity between India and Japan dates back to 538 CE, when Buddhism was officially introduced to Japan, and along with Buddhist teachings, the concomitant art forms also found its way to Japan. The unique development of Buddhist art with distinct aesthetic appeal can be seen in the works of art in different periods of art history. Firstly, the Asuka or the Suiko period, 538 to 645 Common Era, the Nara period, 645 to 794, and the Heian period, 794 to 1185 CE, the Kamakura period, 1185 to 1333 CE. The Heian period includes the Konin or Jogan period, or the early Han period, that is 794 to 897, and then later the Fujiwara period, that is the late Heian, 897 to 1333. The prominent aspect of early Heian period 794 to 897 developed with the introduction of esoteric or tantric form of Buddhism, which had been instrumental in transforming the art of the period. Despite the distance between Japan and India, the birthplace of Buddhism, India always remained strongly fixed in the mind of the monastics of Japan. Esoteric Buddhism arose in India during the 6th, 7th century, and it represented the last major phase of Buddhist thought in India. And by the 8th century, it had reached China. Esoteric Buddhism, practiced at Chang'an, the Chinese capital, was a specific tradition that can be traced to Indian monks from the ancient Nalanda University. This tradition of esoteric Buddhism was passed on to the Japanese priest Kukai or Kobo Daishi or Kobo the Great Teacher in the early 9th century by a Chinese monk, Hui Kuo, who was the primary pupil of Amogha Vajra, an Indian monk. Kukai was one of the most influential monks of Japan during the 9th century. At some point during his young student days, he believed that Buddhism was a superior religion and compared to Confucianism or Taoism. He encountered the Mahavairochana Sutra at some point during these years and began a search for the instructions of the esoteric Buddhism. In 804 CE, he was part of an imperial delegation to the Chinese capital at Chang'an and in China, uh, Chang'an in China. He sought instructions from various Buddhist masters. Eventually, he became the student of Huiko, who was a master of esoteric Buddhism. Kukai returned to Japan in 805 CE with a special knowledge of the new Buddhist thought and related art objects. The teachings of esoteric Buddhism of Shingon promised the ability to lead the practitioner to enlightenment in a single lifetime, whereas other traditions followed a much longer path. Esoteric Buddhism also claimed to provide the practitioner with worldly benefits, security, and protection for the country, and summoning of rain for a good harvest. The material aspect of the new thought appealed to the leaders and was quickly embraced by the monarchy. The newness of esoteric Buddhism may also have been a factor in garnering imperial interest at the time. The imperial family's interest in the benefits of esoteric teachings led to favor being bestowed on Kukai for his knowledge and skill at esoteric Buddhist rituals. It was through this alliance that Kukai became the administrator of the Toji temple in the new capital at Kyoto. The construction of the lecture hall began after Kukai was placed in charge of the then in progress temple. The Toji temple was intended to invoke the protection of the divinities and thereby to assure peace and prosperity. The lecture hall of the temple houses one of the richest and oldest treasury of esoteric Buddhist sculptures of Japan. These statues, unlike the predecessor in terms of style and presentation, captured the mystery and religious depth that helped to establish the Shingon sect. The markedly mystical character are nowhere to be observed in earlier Buddhist art. Heian area underwent a major shift in religious art and culture that focused on the influx of Indian iconographies into Japan. Thus, while giving shape and form to the images, besides being spiritual, they displayed sternness and strength. On the whole, even the best of sculptures appear aloof. There is always a sense of power and strength. For example, Yakushi Nyorai or Vaishijya Guru Buddha, or the Buddha, the medicine master, at the Jingoji temple. The sculptor has intentionally tried to avoid a superficial grace in his attempt to achieve a resolute and determined feeling of spiritual power. It's a typical sculpture expressing the stern and forceful style of early Heian period. Face has a compelling and a grim expression as the deity gazes sternly at the worshipper. At the Toji monastery, besides the Bodhisattvas figures, there appeared figures of other deities, such as the Myos, who are called the Vidya Rajas. Myos are kings of wisdom and fierce looking. There are five great kings of light described by the Benevolent King Sutra, a text aimed to encourage the rulers to uphold the Buddhist law. There are also pictures of 12 guardian deities or devas who are called Juniten in Japan. These deities, who were originally Brahminical gods, incorporated into Buddhism as the protectors or guardians of the Buddhist faith in India itself. The 12 deities were often depicted in paintings of Japan. Sets of 12 hanging pictures of these deities were also separately kept for worship. They were also painted on six-fold screens. The group of guardian deities were frequently worshipped during the Heian period. It was believed that these deities would protect the worshipper from illness and various other calamities. In ancient India, Buddhists did not formally believe in the age-old Hindu system, like Brahminical rituals, sacrifices, or in the existence of immortal divinities. But as time passed, religious ideas and convictions of Brahminical Hinduism could not be ignored, and Buddhist pantheon incorporated many Brahminical divinities, but only as subservient to Buddha. and other Buddha superhuman beings. Their primary role had been to protect the Buddha and the Buddhist world as their acolytes and attendants, and also as the guardians of Buddhist faith. It is well known that Japanese people adopted Buddhism as a religion, but along with it, this old Brahminical religion also made its influence through its gods and goddesses, though under quite different names. Many of the gods gained highly revered position, never attained in India. Many minor gods and goddesses whose role in India itself was rather insignificant had attained considerably exalted position in Japan. We also notice that in Japan, Brahminical deities have been worshipped for gaining material benefits and various kinds of favor in daily life rather than perhaps highly spiritual advancement or gains. As far as Buddhist deities are concerned, it was represented exactly according to the prescriptions in the sacred books. But there being comparatively little directions for the depictions of the Brahminical deities, the artists often had rather a free hand in matter and could depict them according to his own ideas within the framework of religious restrictions. The chief of the Vidya Rajas, when you go back to the Vidya Rajas or the Myos, is Fudo Myo or Achalanath, or the the Fudo Myo or Achalanath Vidya Raja. Vidya Raja. He has the power to protect and guard the practitioner by destroying all defilements and sins. He has his origin in the Indian god Lord Shiva. Achal or Fudo is one of the most popular deities in Japan. He symbolizes the attainment of a calm and unperturbed mind. He is seated on a rock that represents immovability around him, and flames which signify the burning up of all the illusions of sentient beings. He carries a sword, which is an emblem of victory that knowledge gains over error. In his left hand, he holds a lasso, which signifies the snare with which creatures are caught and bound to lead them to salvation. Same way, as intellect penetrates to the very essence of the most obtuse thought. In his left hand, he holds, okay, according to the Mahavairochana Sutra, he should be represented with a childlike plump body. There is an image of Fudo at the meadow of Toji, second picture of lecture hall. These two earliest images of Japanese art. Both these images show him to be a very fat and a fleshy trunk, fierce appearance. Facial expression is that of fierce anger, open eyes, mouth opened in such a manner that row of sharp teeth are visible. The image and we see Fudo was so popular that so many of his paintings, etc., have also been made. For example, is a blue Fudo which is in the temple called Shoren Inn, where he is here with his two doji attendants. The one is the Kimkara doji, stands for sustaining virtue, and Saitaka doji on his left, subjugating power. Over here, his body is painted blue. His hair is tied in a top knot, left eye is closed, two long canine teeth protrude, holds a rope and the sword. Though they may look extremely fierce and angry, but their anger is only directed against those people who sway from the path, from the righteous path, from the Buddhist path. Then you have the red Fudo. We see him in the third picture. This is a vision picture which priest Chisho Daisy, painted in 12th century, had a vision and later had this apparition drawn in blood from his head, and the result was this picture. This is quite an asymmetrical arrangement because Fudo is no longer looking straight at the viewer, but he glares balefully out of one side. He holds a Vajra sword, thunderbolt with dragon coiled about it, and sharpened blade, and a rope. His hair is combed back, and a headband with three circular on forehead, believed to be by some to imply a religion to the habit of groups of ascetics who were among the strong followers of Achal. Again, we see him with his two acolytes who are placed one behind the other. The yellow Fudo in the same way is also a vision picture where he seems the muscular, brawny body instead of the childish, soft body. His head is covered with tight rows of curl and the vibrant yellow color, glaring wide open eyes, daily makes a very awe-inspiring, exuding authority. Next, we have these pictures of other Vidya Rajas. Gosanse, Trailokya Vijaya. first image of Trailokya Vijaya. He goes Sanzimyo or Trailokya Vijaya, so the divine anger against evil, and he is thought to be the subjugating three worlds. Threatening expression on his face, and he's standing on two figures, supposed to be it is believed to be that of Maheshwara and consort Uma, whom he has converted into Buddhist protesters. Now there's a similar type of Trailokya Vijaya figure from Nalanda Vijaya. This is the second figure. This is from 9th century Bihar. So I've just put this. It's how much the iconography and all were followed from India. And third is a very, very interesting picture. This is from Karakoram in Central Asia. The Shaivite cult was very much traveling from India via Central Asia, China, Japan. So this is also a very interesting Trailokya Vijaya figure we have got. So here on the fourth picture is that of Gundari Mio or Kundali Vidyaraja, responsible for the protection and distribution of the nectar of immortality. He is also depicted with flame-like hair, multiple arms, three eyes, and two of his arms across his chest, and he holds all the implements of war. Headdress is almost adorned with human skull. Armlets, anklets take the form of snakes. Though they look extremely fearful, but the fear is to protect the devotee and not to go against the devotee, protection him. Then comes Kongo Yasha, a little lesser known Vidyaraja. Front hands, again, he has got the same aggressive attitude, and he has got a lot of implements of weapons on his body, whereas his prevailing wisdom acts against the infernal beings. He subdues demons and who threatens those on the path of Buddhism. The last one, the sixth deity that you're seeing is Dai Toku Mio. He is a Buddhist version of Hindu god of the world of the dead. And as such, he is related to Emma Ten Yama and Emma O, that is Yamaraja, both kings of afterlife. In India, Yamantaka, which means destroyer of death in Vajrayana Buddhism. By defeating Yama, the cycle of births and rebirths are broken. He crushes many evil spirits under his feet. By text, he should be having 6 arms and 6 faces and holding various weapons. He is riding on a white cow or perhaps a buffalo. He has the power to suppress evil and create goodness. Worship of this deity is for the deity for victory. And now we have got some now Yama, Emma 10. This is represented in 2 different aspects. When we think of India in Rig Vedan time, Yama's kingdom is said to be the destination of the dead, and his realm is considered the peaceful and pleasurable abode of the dead. Post-Vedic period, of course, Yama was regarded to be the judge of the dead and giver of punishment. Then as a judge, he was represented in a very dreadful aspect. In Japan, these aspects of Yama enjoyed great popularity. Emma's benign aspect is represented by Emma 10, a form, while his ferocious aspect is shown as Emma O10. Benign form of Emma was worshipped in Japan with the belief that he would prevent calamities and give peace and happiness to the dead. Ferocious aspect of Emma 10 was no less popular. In fierce aspect, Emma 10 is depicted as one of the 10 kings, the cult of which was developed in China during 6 dynasties period and became popular in Japan too. Now we have this painting, the first painting, which is very interesting. He is also one of the 12 devas, painted in 1127 from the Toji temple. 2 armed goddesses riding a cow, perhaps, or a buffalo, wearing very ostentatious garments, jewelry, holds his right hand up with palm facing upwards. Left hand holds a stick whose top end bears a human head. His right leg is bent at the knee, rests almost to the shoulder of the animal. He has but his eyes expression is extremely compassionate. The second and third image is again from another temple in Aoji, Kyoto, Emma 10, and the third is that of Chitragupt, or the record keeper of Emma, just like in Indian tradition. Even they are all portrayed in in Japan, and they are worshipped and they are held in great respect. This is the very interesting Dai Koku Ten. He is Mahakaleshwar as we call them in India, affiliated to Lord Shiva. He is the great time, which ultimately destroys all things. Refers to Shiva as he is the destroyer of all elements. There is nothing beyond him, no elements, no dimensions, not even time. That is why he is Mahakal. He displays all ignorance and illusion of the world. The deity Mahakal, the Etokuten, was incorporated into Buddhist pantheon as a ferocious god that introduced in Japan. Even this, but we see in Japan we see a very benign aspect of Mahakala as an ordinary human being wearing ordinary clothes and holding a bag on his shoulder and a hammer in his hand. He is a deity of good fortune. He is believed to be deity of good fortune, wealth. He had gradually transformed into a very jovial and beneficent figure as his positive qualities, such as being provider of wealth. He is constantly shown as smiling and as a generous deity of abundance. In Buddhism, he is regarded as the sacred Dharmapala, the protector of Buddhism. And there is next. Now we have got another Mio, but extremely calm and composed and no fierce looking at all, is Mahamayuri, one of the oldest of all deities holding the title of Vidyaraja. The very name of this is suggestive of intimate relations with the bird, Mayura, or the peacock. Following her description in the text, she is represented as having the peacock's feather as an attribute to one of her hands. We have a lot of Mahamayuri's picture at Ellora caves, cave 6, cave number 8 to cave number 10, etc. Some of our different deities shown either seated or accompanied by a peacock. Here she sits on a gorgeous mount wearing beautiful costume and adorned with jewels, female wisdom king. The demeanor or the expression in contrast to the king of light or other Vidyarajas who rage with undisguised rage, force and intensity against wickedness, but over here she has got a very calm and composed look. We have the third image I've taken from Ellora, Mahamayuri standing image. The peacock is on her right hand side. Next one, please. And then another image from Ellora one can see. And then we have the fifth image, that is Eisen Mio, Ragaraja, or the Kamadeva, or the god of love. Very popular in Japan, though not so popular in India. And how? Symbolizes the hope of attaining Buddhahood without denying the feelings native to human flesh. To emphasize this symbolism, his body is brilliant red color. Behind him, a flaming crimson oriole holds bow and attributes borrowed from Indian god Kamdeva. Often his crown contains a magical lion figure. So even Eisen Mio, one of the Ragarajas, Kamdev, he is also extremely popular in Japan, not so in India. Yeah. To the picture. Now we come to Kichijoten and Benzaiten, Mahasri, goddess Lakshmi, goddess Saraswati. Mahasri or Lakshmi in Japan is due to the Hindu influence coming from the Nara period. She represents abundance, wealth, fertility of nature. First picture that we see, this is Gajalakshmi from Barut Stupa, really, 2nd century BC. We have been portraying the goddess of prosperity from a very long period. The other is also from where we see Lakshmi with elephants pouring water on her. This is 1st century from Sanchi, Eastern Gate, the Eastern Toran. Till this time, female divinities played no role in Japanese Buddhist worship. So a lot of interest was aroused when Lakshmi, with her splendor, was worshipped as an independent deity. Worship was performed in Japan to ensure peace of the empire, timely rainfall, good harvest. 768, it was decided that worship of Lakshmi would be carried out in every temple of the country. She was regarded as a consort of Bishamonten, or the Hindu god Kubera, called Bishamonten in Japanese. So the fifth painting. Now we have a lot of clay sculptures of Kichijoten or Lakshmi. We have from the Nara period, and the painting is one of the best painting of goddess Lakshmi done on hemp cloth. Japanese sensitivity for delicacy comes very clearly in this picture. She's clearly the goddess of wealth, beauty, and abundance. 767, the worship of Kichijoten was ordered by the monarchy in all provincial temples to bring peace, good harvest, and happiness. First special service was connected with Kichijoten and Yakushiji occurred in 770. So this painting must be dating from that period. Halo around the head, sacred jewel that she holds in her hand, a usual symbol of the goodness. The goddess has shown wearing a very costume usually worn by Chinese Han period court ladies. She has a full moon face, graceful pose, very subtle colors have been used in this enchanting painting. There is another painting of, there is another graceful statue of Kichujiten. This is from Kamakura period. This is from Joruriji Temple, 1212. Very graceful statue, presented as an elegant figure, elaborate decoration on the costume, delicate carving, and the whole surface is painted with beautiful colors. Next, when we come to Saraswati, Benzaiten as she is called, it symbolizes a talent. She symbolizes talent, wisdom, wealth. In India,
Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Sampa. Please try to wind up.
Oh, okay. I will just show you the pictures then. This is the Benzaiten symbolizing Saraswati over here. Over here, as you can see, she is also the as a celebrated river personified as the goddess. She's also presented in Japan with 8 arms because they has, according to Suvarna Prabha Sutra, she has the golden light. She should be worshipped for the gaining of victory in warfare. So here you have got 8 arms. We cannot see the beautiful of the statue because the statue is broken, but the beautiful painting of Benzaiten is here on colored on wood, called 8 arms holding many weapons. Then we have a 10th statue over here. The 10th one, this is also being holding she should be holding a musical instrument. So here we have, she's looking like a very young adolescent girl and seated gracefully with her there. Now you have got Benzaiten shrine with a holy water around it. Now this is very interesting. The problem nowadays that has become Saraswati is also very much worshipped by the trading community. And also that people believe that if you wash the currency notes, they will multiply and become millions. So now Saraswati is also believed and trusted that she will be multiplying your money. Okay, next one. So now we have, so let's show the picture. We have Brahma and Indra. We have got 2 these Vedic deities, very, very powerful now. Indra, the first picture is, of course, we have got in Ajanta, when Buddha was born, Brahma and Indra had come to receive him. So we have got Brahma here, born, and as he's called. And then he's sitting on 4 geese, and traditional Indian iconography has come in, poured in during Heian period. Earlier on, he was seen more as a Chinese, wearing a Chinese costumes, etc. Heian period, it becomes more Indianized. Same with the numbers 5 and number 6 are the details of the Taishakutana Indra, seated on his vehicle, on his Vahana, elephant, and as God Senapati. As Senapati, he is holding a vajra in his hand, and he's got a militarized costume that he's wearing. And this is Taishakutana. Next one. Next pictures. These are very beautiful pictures of Shiva Ishana that you have got here. There is Maheshwara, who is Maika Shuraten or Daizaiten. Here's, we see him painting here, Shiva Ishana with a trident in his right hand and with the Kapala or this is holding blood in his hand. Shiva Ishana seated, and there's a Maheshwara. The kite of Shiva had come from India to Central Asia. There's a beautiful painting at Dandan Nolik on wood. So here's the last 4th painting. Is that okay? Nishana and very famous images of Ganesh. Kanji Ganesh, also dual forms of Ganesh. Kanji we see, we also have Ganesh with the Shakti in India. This is the second picture, is that of Madhya Pradesh. And on the sword, now we have got the twin form of Ganesh, very happy, rejoicing, and very happy expression. And we have got single form of Ganesh also, very beautifully and worshipping. Next. Okay, this the Kubera, Bishamonten, or the god of wealth. Very interesting. Second picture, third picture, that we have a 3-face Mahakal. First is Mahakal, then we have got the picture of Bishamonten, who is Kubera, and the third is Saraswati. Varuna is one figure. Very picture is very, they are very Varuna, all Rigvedic gods, not so popular in India, but very popular over there. And one of the most beautiful paintings of Toji, seated gracefully with 2 acolytes. Okay, next. And we have the last of the pictures. We have got moon god, the sun god. At India, how he has been shown, sun god Nitten, painted. And we have got the Vayu of Futen and Agni, who is also extremely popular, very well known. Okay, next. This last picture that we have come, that is the first 2 pictures that are Narayan 10, that is Narayana Vishnu. Vishnu is also supposed, she's showing, first picture shows Vishnu with 3 faces and Vishnu on his on his Garuda. And then the second picture with his strong muscular arms that we see as a Congo Rikishi, who are the guards. And we have Kartikeya in Japan, seated on peacock, and over here with holding weapons in his arms. And this last Kartikeya is very interesting, from China.
Dr. Sampa, please wind up.
Finished. So I just read the conclusion. With the introduction of remarkable philosophy of Buddhism in Japan, it not only enlarged the enriched and outlook of the people, brought into focus the depth, power, variety of its influence on Japanese art. Scholars have perceived that during the Han period, major shift was noticed in the religious art and culture that revolutionized, that transformed the creative works of art. During this period, focus was on the influx of Indian images and iconographies, while the adoption or and borrowing of new cultural elements can be discerned and analyzed. The influence that really takes place at a deep spiritual level is incredibly wide, so it becomes difficult to locate. Buddhism and art associated with it had broadened, deepened, refined the aesthetic feeling of the Japanese people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sampa Biswas. Professor Shashibala, please invite Suhmit Sharma.
Ji, please. Suhmit ji.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Your comments, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me all?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon. And thank you so much, Sampa ma'am, for this wonderful lecture in this summer afternoon. And I mean, for me, it was almost like a time machine going back to 2012 when I was sitting at your class and listening to Japanese art that you were teaching us. So without any further ado, I'll just go through the highlights of what you have spoken, which kind of interested me. And so first of all, you said how for creating the Buddhist images, strict rules and kind of rigid laws were used to create these images, but for the Brahmanical deities that seeped into the culture then, there was a lot of freedom for artists to kind of put together these idols. So for example, when you were talking about Benzaiten and Saraswati or Kishoten Sridevi or Goddess Lakshmi, you show we see a lot of images of her, like for example of Benzaiten from the Kamakura period, where you showed an image, I think, of a painting where she's holding a lasso and no, this is the painting where Goddess Hariti Kisomo.
I'm not sure.
The painting
Lakshmi. Lakshmi only I have shown two images of Lakshmi. One is of the Nara period, another is the Kamakura period. And Benzaiten, I have shown mainly one, this Benzaiten Saraswati, Kamakura period, where she is seated and she's holding, it appears she's holding a musical instrument. And then of course there's Saraswati with 8 arms. This is very interesting. She's shown as a warrior god because of the sutras which I said that she is also she gives security to the nation. She appears in that way. Okay.
So the whole thing of personification from the river, you said, like when the river is very ferocious, kind of floods. So she's shown, Saraswati is shown almost with a lasso and a bow and vajra. And then you have the very calm river with the musical kind of melody that flow of the river. And then you have this almost naked Saraswati with a lute on her hand.
That was another. I have not shown that image. I showed that image where you saw Saraswati is wearing a very costume. She's seated and she is in the act of playing the music instrument, which is missing.
So that was quite interesting to see. And of course, the images of Boten and Indra, that is Taishukuten. So both of them, they have very strong echoes of what we follow as Brahma with 4 heads, with 4 arms and 4 geese. And of course, Indra over an elephant holding a vajra. But somehow I felt that you said in the beginning where the artist had a lot of freedom. So the elephant, like kind of looks peculiar because it's almost like it looks like it has claws. So probably that's because it came through via China and from the Tang period, if I'm not wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel in India, we have very good way of showing the bovine animals, also elephant. And from Assam, I mean, where I come from, we see elephants all around, but probably
naturally, it's not that it's very natural. It's not naturalistic.
Yeah,
it is.
so
I mean, though Indra looks very strict and stern, the bovine. The elephant gives us some sort of. You're quite correct there. I mean, brings sort. I mean, it looks a bit not so correct. So and appears as if smiling also. So very contrast in the facial expression of the Lord who is sitting, and on top of him an elephant. Yes, that's a good observation.
So I thought that's where the freedom of the artist probably played in.
Definitely, sure, definitely.
So one of the questions probably I have is that, of course, we have a lot of Hindu influences that reached over there and manifested into these idols. But most of them were probably indirect. So were there any images that were created that probably directly the influence had gone to Japan?
Some direct influence. Everything actually came from China, via China. The influence came to Japan via China. So that is why I just now I cannot recollect, but one image definitely is very, that we saw the Vidyaraja image of Gosanse Mio, Trailokya Vijaya, which is quite similar to the Trailokya Vijaya image from Nalanda, except Nalanda's image does not have that ferocious look. But then there's a Vidyaraja. Vidyarajas are emanations of Mahavishnu, who is the main deity of Esoteric Buddhism, and they show terrible anger against anti-Buddhist feelings and those people who do not follow the laws, the worship, who do not follow the laws of. So, body-wise, the Alida pose that both the deities have standing on the 2 deities, there's tremendous similarity between Nalanda image and the image that we see of Gosanse, that we see of at Toji. Otherwise, we don't have any image of Fudo in India. Though all the dhyanas and all are written in Indian text and all we have written in India only. But yeah, simple direct that question I will have to see. But even Ganesh with his Shakti in Madhya Pradesh, it's different, side by side standing, and the Shakti is in human form. Over here we see two in Ganesh, 2 Ganeshas. Very few images that we find which we can say has got direct influence from India. Mainly it is via Central Asia, then via China, and then it enters into Japan. So there's a lot of influences coming in from the different countries. Every country has got their own indigenous, the artists gave their own indigenous, their own influences, their own talent. Yeah, correct.
So another observation, it's almost like what I liked. It's the image of Mahamayuri Vidya Rajani. So from Mount Koya, I think, from dated 1200. So I mean, most of the gods are very ferocious and very
she's also in Buddhism. She's also Pancharaksha. She's one of the 5 deities there. She's also there. And Mahamayuri is contrast to the others, though other Vidyarajas who absolutely a ferocious face, intense rage that they show. Muhammad is much more calm, composed.
Very calm and serene, yeah.
And serene.
So this image was very striking, actually.
Earlier than the Vidyaraja, naturally, Mahamayuri Pancharaksha deities comes much earlier. Of course, I'm really happy because I know Dr. Shashibala is sitting there. She knows so much. She's a real master in this topic. And I'm feeling so hard speaking because I know you know so much. I would really love to listen to your observations, ma'am.
Yeah, just I wanted to so, give you some comments.
Yes.
The whole of the whatever you showed, whatever presentation you gave, it's all from the Shingon sect.
What
And Shingon sect. Shingon sect that was established by Kobayashi when he returned from China in 805. After that, he was given space in Koyasan, and later on, first he had established his headquarters in Koyasan, but later on he was given space in Toji, and all these things developed. Number two is that you showed the statues of Brahma and Indra. Brahma and Indra are the two deities that come together as rulers of heaven and earth. So that concept is there. Then Shingon sect is basically the Mantrayana sect. Mantrayana sect is the most important to study relations between India and Japan. Yes. Because of Mantra, it's a long story, so I'm just cutting it short. Then Toji is a temple built for the defense of the country. So Rashtra Raksha Mandir we used to build, and there are many other countries who have built Rashtra Raksha Mandir, temples for defense, peace and prosperity. Then a few statues you showed from the group that is called Juni Ten. Juni Ten, the 12 Vedic deities, we should not call them Brahmanical deities, because they were not only worshipped by Brahmanas. So it's a wrong.
No, I know. Wait, excuse me, ma'am. Can I just tell you some? Can I just make? I'm not saying Brahmanical means Brahmins.
No,
Brahman is the concept of Brahman that we all meditated and concentrated.
No, I'm not saying so. Actually, Sushant made a point, and when he was speaking, then he said Brahmanical deities. So I was a little upset, because these deities do not belong only to the Brahmanas. So it's a wrong given by the Europeans. We should correct it. So they are all Vedic deities. Then there are because the most important point is that Kobadaishi brought two mandalas, Vajradhatu and Garbhadhatu. And because of the two mandalas, hundreds of deities came into the Japanese pantheon. And even the Hindu deities that are in the outermost section of the Garbhadhatu mandala, they are transformed and assimilated. There are a number of forms which sometimes there are forms which we do not even find in India. Even for Ganesha, you can find so many manifestations of Ganesha in India or outside India, but there are a few which I could never find outside Japan. So it's their own creation. Then bodhisattvas are so many bodhisattvas. I have written some research papers on bodhisattvas because categorization of bodhisattvas is very important, because they are the deities who are serving humanity, saving them from different types of calamities and all sorts. Even professional deities, bodhisattvas are there. Then you talked about you raised a point. I think Sushant raised a point about the form of the elephant with claws. Actually, with these art forms, it's not a creation of an free-thinking artist. No, it is because different types of energies. Because all these gods and goddesses, they are not Vyakti, they are Shakti. They are not. We people have given anthropomorphic forms to them because we do not understand anything beyond it. So in India also, when you visit temples, there are many animals where you will see different types of attributes of animals mixed into one. So here also different types of attributes are mixed up, and there are reasons for it. So one has to do research on it. Then Fudomyo is Agni, fireborn. He emerges out of fire. So I'm not going into the details. But the point is that suppression is evil is always required by the world. All over the world we have to, or in all the ages. Evil things, evil ideas, evil people are suppressed, and then you need anger. So anger is a relative quality. Anger is not always bad. If I am angry as a mother, it can be bad. But when I go to fight as a soldier, then I have to be angry. So these deities who are protective deities, so they need this anger. And you should Yama then, Yama. Yama holds a staff, and on top of the staff is a mirror. When a soul goes to the heaven of Yama, and Chitragupta gives all the descriptions of his deeds, good or bad, whatever one has done in his or her life. He gives all the account at that time. See, you have done this. And Yama holds the mirror to show the acts, evil or bad, whatever we have done during our life. So he shows, oh, see, this is what you are. And accordingly, one is rewarded or punished. It depends on the accounts recorded by Chitragupta, and judgment is given by Yama. So why we have this kind of images? Because this kind of concept, this kind of philosophy inspires humanity to do good. Because if you do bad, that after death, after all, you are going to Yama, and Chitragupta is writing all your deeds. So be careful, do good, so you are not punished. Then you showed Mahakala. Mahakala is transformation and assimilation into the Buddhist pantheon, Japanese Buddhist pantheon. So there are many other deities also. For example, Lakshmi, Kichijatem, Goddess Lakshmi. If you see in India, because in India we have gold coins. Most important, what is that? As a wealth, showering gold coins. So when we worship Lakshmi, then she showers gold coins. But because Lakshmi in Japan is taken into the Buddhist fold, so she holds a Chintamani jewel. And Lakshmi was started, worship of Lakshmi had started before the Heian period. During the Nara period, Kichijogeka was celebrated. It was celebrated during the 8th century. So Lakshmi and Saraswati worshipped together during the festival called Kichijogeka. Then you talked about Saraswati. Saraswati is given another form in Japan that is called Saraswati. So she has also become a goddess of kitchen. Saraswati. So a deity that gives us good food. So people in Japan, they keep statues of paintings of Saraswati even in their kitchens. So Saraswati is worshipped for many other reasons. Not only that, not only like India, we worship mainly Saraswati for knowledge. But in Japan...
Sorry to interrupt you, Professor Shashibala. Yes. We have only 5 minutes left, and maybe we need time for questions.
So thank you very much. And for the final sentences, that direct, as Sushant raised the question, direct impact from India to Japan is under-researched. There is, I know, I can feel, but I have not done research, from the east coast of India directly to Japan, there is no proper research done. I hope Kizuna can just carry forward this kind of projects if possible for you. So thank you very much for inviting me to chair this session. And it was a wonderful presentation, and I hope Sampa to give more such presentations. Thank you everybody.
I request the chair to open the floor for question and answers.
Yeah, okay, sure. Now the floor is open for all of you to ask your questions, whatever you have, to make it more interactive, more interesting. Yeah, please.
I am asking my dear friend Shashibala ji, and I have been to Japan several times. I have Japanese colleagues also. Apart from the theoretical and intellectual part, that is being researched, I used to feel in China and Japan, because I have my colleagues, I stayed in their families, even in the ethical and social beliefs that the Japanese and Chinese and Indians have, there are so many similarities. You would not be knowing anywhere in any book that Japanese and Chinese also have something like Rakhi. So, Didi,
Yeah,
or my
sure.
dearest friend Shashibala ji,
Yeah, maybe
if
now
anybody
next
can
generation.
think on socio-cultural, not, archaeology, yes, I'm very crazy. I'm sorry, I'm from a very different line. I'm a technical person. I've been to Japan for my damn IT work. So, but I used to stay with my Japanese friends. All my Japanese colleagues are only IT professionals. But I used to stay in their families and try to understand the culture. And if something can be done for the future of humanity, that how ethically, ethos, the cultural part of these parts of ASEAN, whole life has been in ASEAN countries only. Korea is like my second home. So how we, the ASEAN countries, where the Indian influence of Swadharma, Kutumba Dharma, Swadharma, are inculcated into their family life. And that's why even today, Japanese and Chinese have a very happy family like India. You are all great researchers. I would request you to take up this subject.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Maybe Sushant can have this. Yeah, any other question, please? So, I think.
So can we wrap up?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
more talks you organize, and more questions and more projects will come up, hopefully.
Yes.
So we'll have new ideas and new dimensions, new perspectives to work on, because India and Japan are so close. And in India, I think people are not that much aware that they should be. There are so many things.
Yes.
So with these words, would you like to?
Yes, let me wrap up. Thank you, Dr. Sampa Biswas, for a very interesting and colorfully illustrated presentation, and drawing relevant counterparts from Madhya Pradesh and Ellora. It was really wonderful. And it was also wonderful having Professor Shashibala as the chair and Mr. Suhmit Sharma as the discussant. Thank you very much for your rich and insightful comments. On behalf of the Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum, I thank all other participants who were able to join us via Zoom. Our next lecture is by Professor Archana Shastri, scheduled for Friday, 18th August. And the topic is Textiles and Sustainability, a Shared Culture of Thrift. So we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for a very lively discussion, dialogue, and presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Look forward for more such talks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.